All right, now I am going to turn this volume down a little bit because I'm pretty loud in my ear. But I was hoping this video was going to be pretty short. And I know somebody's going to say, oh, you're just hating on Marquez, da 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 da. So, first of all, the reason I don't put his face in my thumbnail is because I don't want to use his face for my own personal clout, if you will. But the reason I do comment on a lot of his things is because of the number of subscribers he has, the sheer size of his audience. And when I hear him say something that I'm just like, that isn't right, or that is wrong, I guess would be the other thing. Or how about this? That's incomplete information. I feel like that is the majority of the problem. It's incomplete information. So instead of me, trying to cut up his video and do a bunch of stuff, there's only really one thing I want to talk about. And it's going to be the first topic of his video after he does his little intro, which is battery life / battery capacity. And then I'll bring in battery size. So let's go ahead and get started. I'll shut up over here and then we can get going.
So I've been dailying this phone for about 3 weeks now. It's really good, but it's also really exciting because there are 3 things in this phone that are going to be trends in smartphones for all of 2025. So this phone isn't for you. There's going to be a lot more.
All right, and the reason I'm stopping here, which was kind of intentional but also unintentional, is I applaud his ability to seemingly stay objective about stuff. But I must say that when it comes to a lot of the reviewers that I follow, whether it's on YouTube or through podcasts, I'm so amazed with all of the positive things they'll say about Android devices, yet their primary device is still an iPhone. And I'm just like, what's the phrase? I don't know. Somebody else, it's early here in the morning, so I'm not thinking straight. But it's clearly, that's an Apple Watch on his wrist. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But then I said clearly, but no, that appears to be an Apple Watch. So my guess is there's an iPhone somewhere around. And for everything that he and plenty of other reviewers talk about, it's like, oh, all these good things, all these good things, all these good things. And even sometimes all of these bad things about the iPhone. But I'm going to continue using my iPhone. And I'm like, I don't understand why. Now, granted, iMessage locking is real and certain people don't believe that it is. But it baffles me. And it makes me think of somebody I think of on The Verge. They were saying that, oh, iOS 18 makes my iPhone feel more like an Android. And I like it. And I'm just like, well, why don't you just use an Android device then? Like if you were saying that this other company is just copying, which happens, ideas go back and forth, so that's not the problem. But what you were saying is, oh, they have copied some of these features, and now these features make my current device look like the competition. And I'm enjoying that. But I'm going to continue using this half-baked product. So, again, it does bother me because as a result of consumer choices, I'm affected by what's readily available in the market. So here in the United States, for the most part, there are 2 players, Samsung, Apple. And then, you have companies like OnePlus that exist. You have Google and the Pixel that also exist. I've made plenty of videos about Sony phones and Asus phones. And there's probably some other ones I'm just not thinking about because I really don't care too much at the moment. But it's really those 2 carriers or those 2 companies not even pushing the market forward, just existing. And then consumers have to buy what's available. And when you have a platform as big as this gentleman's, I feel like that message is further amplified. That, oh, here are the 2 big players. Oh yeah, here's another video, and I'm happy he has almost 3 million views for this review. But I still feel like most people are, I got my Samsung, I got my iPhone, so I'm good to go. Whatever. Anyway, let's continue and see what else he has to say.
Like it that are really good, which is sick. So those 3 things are the incredible battery, the chip, and the record-breaking display. So let's.
And the last thing I'll say before I really get into the point of this video is that he brought up that record-breaking display, which I have the specs up in the tabs and you'll see them momentarily, but I'm not comparing them directly to the phone. that was mentioned years ago, which that phone was called an enthusiast phone, which was the Sony Xperia 1 Mark V, or heck, might even been the Mark IV. I don't remember which one he said was an enthusiast phone, but I think the point of me bringing this up is that when companies, Sony in particular, for this little section, it's like, man, this company did something really good. And instead of just saying, man, this mess is great, why don't other people do this? It's, let's put a title on it and say it's an enthusiast phone. And there were other things like the headphone jack that were, by this gentleman, deemed enthusiast features. And I'm just like, no, that just makes it a good product for the consumer. But anyway, that wasn't the point of this video, but him saying that about the display, I was just like, come on. All right. Enough of me talking for now.
Get right into this battery. It's an easy place to start. This is the OnePlus 13, and it has a 6,000 milliamp hour battery. This perfectly reasonably sized, kind of slim phone without being super thick has a battery literally double the capacity of the Galaxy S8. It's kind of nuts, actually. So if you've been keeping track of phone battery sizes...
So, again, I wasn't even going to stop. In fact, let me click over real fast because I have to, because of what he just said. Like you can tell that I'm frustrated. It's because, again, he had to go all the way back to the Galaxy S8 to attempt to make a comparison. It means nothing because the S8 came out however many years ago. Don't know, not going to look it up since Samsung decided to change their numbering scheme. But the OnePlus 13, 6,000 milliamp hours. So I'm assuming the Galaxy 8 is at or around 3,000. But if we come here, and I was going to show this later just to give a comparison, but if we come here and we look at the iPhone 16 Pro, no, it's not 3,000 milliamp hours, okay? But we keep coming down, but it's 3,500. So if I were to go to the regular iPhone 16, I know it's a little smaller. And then if we were to look at the iPhone 15, and then the iPhone 4. So phones that are a year or two old are also roughly half the size in terms of battery capacity. But no, instead of calling out the precious iPhone, we had to go back to the Galaxy S8. And if it's I just wanted to compare Android devices to Android devices, cool, whatever. But that's the problem, is that we continuously give Apple these passes. So yes, this is the iPhone 16 Pro. And I'm just going to take a guess. And let me just jump back to the iPhone 14. Just to see exactly the size of that battery, which if only came out 2 years ago. We keep coming down, and we got 3,200. So yeah, not quite 3,000, but yeah, just a phone that's 2 years old, half the size in terms of capacity. But no, we're not going to talk about the iPhone. It's, let's go back to the Galaxy S8. And in fact, just because I'm here, let's see, when did that come out? I said I wasn't going to do it, but we might as well. So it came out in 2017. So what's that, 8 years ago? And what's the actual size of the battery? Yeah, 3,000. Okay, so yeah, so yes, in terms of what he said, technically it's correct, but there are way newer phones that kind of fall in line with the point that he's trying to make. They just happen to be Apple products. But we're just not going to talk about that. Anyway, let me bring this back to the iPhone 16 Pro. And we're good to go. All right, so back to the video. Again, didn't mean to go off track that quickly, but it's, again, like I said at the beginning of the video, it's true information, but it's incomplete, or better comparisons can be made.
Past few years, you might be wondering, what is happening? Like, how is this jump all of a sudden happening with a bunch of phones? Like the Galaxy S24 Ultra from last year, this full-size mega flagship has an enormous 5,000 milliamp hour battery, but yet suddenly there's a bunch of new phones in the past few weeks that are not thicker, that have a 5,500, 6,000, even 7,000 milliamp hour battery. Like, what is happening? And the answer is silicon carbon. These new batteries, without getting too technical, they are still lithium-ion batteries, but with a new silicon carbon anode, or a mixture of silicon and graphite. But the results have really spoken for themselves. They've been bangers. More energy density, obviously, but also enabling faster charging and a greater range of operating temperatures.
Okay. So again, factual information, but incomplete. I've made plenty of videos talking about battery capacity, which nobody cares about. Heck, if you have an iPhone, you don't care because you're just willing to accept and think that's fine. Same thing with Samsung. The base Galaxies for the last several years, you're like, this is just garbage. And I don't understand why they are slow rolling it. It's because there's no real competition. So yeah, when we get something like this OnePlus 13 with 6,000 milliamp hours, we're like, oh man, how are they doing this? It's amazing. So what I wanted to do on this particular screen is compare, and I should have had the OnePlus 13 all the way to the left, but whatever, I didn't. I wanted to compare the batteries of these three devices. So, I should have put the OnePlus 13. It's not too late, but I'm still not going to change it. So, on the left, we have the Asus ZenFone 11 Ultra. In the middle, we have the OnePlus 13. And then we have a mid-range Sony Xperia 10 Mark VI. So, first thing that he mentioned is the fact that this silicon ion, silicon carbon battery is new. And it's what's allowed for these higher capacity batteries. I can't necessarily say that that's false. It's flat out I can't say, oh, well, no, we could have accomplished everything with regular lithium ion batteries. But I also can't say that that's not true. So looking at the phone on the left, we have the ZenFone 11 Ultra with a 5,500 milliamp hour. And I would assume that it is just a regular lithium ion battery, but it still is a lot larger than the majority of batteries that are on the market. And in terms of footprint, when we talk about the physical size of the phone, yeah, it's a millimeter thicker. It's a millimeter taller. It's 0.3 of a millimeter or 3 millimeters thinner. Sorry, I'm all over the place. So in terms of looking at the size of the phone, it's a centimeter taller. No, those are millimeters. Yeah, I was right. Jeez. Okay. So let's go backwards. All right. So, but looking at the size of the phone, yeah, it's just a millimeter taller, a little less than a millimeter taller. We're talking about a fraction of a millimeter thicker, and a fraction of a millimeter wider. So the footprint of the ZenFone 11 is not much bigger than that of the OnePlus 13, yet it has a slightly smaller battery, but the need for silicon carbon wasn't there. So just going back to what Marquez says is, the reason we're able to get these newer, higher capacity batteries is because of this new technology. And that's just not true. Just not true. But it's, and this is me just being me. It's another excuse for the iPhone. It's, the iPhone hasn't gone over to this technology yet. So that's why they don't have these higher capacity batteries. Not true. Just not true. And I know I hate on Apple, mainly because I think a lot of their phones are garbage, but Samsung does the same thing. Google, with their Pixels this year, I think finally decided to do something nice and give us, higher capacity batteries, but it's all just made up. Now, the reason I included the Sony Xperia 10 was simply because it is a way smaller phone, only 6.1 inches. Okay, so footprint is way smaller. We're talking 8 millimeters shorter, a couple millimeters thinner, and not as wide. Yeah, you do the math. But that has a 5,000 milliamp hour battery. And so the example that Marquez gave in this video was the Galaxy S24 Ultra, this seemingly not overly large phone, has this type of battery in it, and this size of battery. And for the videos that I made in the past, there's a difference between battery size and battery capacity. So if this Sony Xperia 10 is significantly smaller, but has a battery with the same capacity as a phone that's significantly larger, then yes. However, batteries are deemed dense. This is just a more energy dense battery. So a new technology was not needed in order for a high capacity battery in a smaller device to exist. So like I said before, it is technically true information. So yeah, next year it wouldn't surprise me if we had 6,500 or maybe 6,300 milliamp hour batteries in phones that are still the same size. But with the technology that we have, we can get higher capacity batteries and have been doing it in phones that aren't the iPhone. Okay. And, I already showed the screen, and, just to quickly, everything on that previous screen was 5,000 milliamp hours or higher. And for Apple's latest devices, if we come down to the battery, for the regular Pro, we're down in the 3,000s. Oh, okay. For the Plus, we're in the, at 4,600, almost 4,700. And at the Pro Max, we're just under 4,700. So for these flagship, expensive ass devices, not even cracking 5,000. And physically, they're just as big or way bigger than everything that was on the other screen. So every time, and if I were to bring up the Samsung Galaxy S24 regular, I think the Plus this past year and the Ultra both have 5,000. I think the Plus is like 4,900. Samsung had to say, well, we can't give you the battery the same size as the Ultra, so we got to skimp on something. But here with Apple, it's sufficiently insufficient, and it's a bad product, just a bad product. But the last thing he said, and then I'll shut up, hopefully I don't break 20 minutes on this video, is he said, this silicon carbon has allowed for faster charging. So if we come to the OnePlus 13, and I have the 12 and the 11, the OnePlus 13, with that new silicon carbon battery that theoretically allows for faster charging, 100-watt wired charging, okay? 100-watt wired charging, all right? Come over to the OnePlus 12 from last year. What did we see? 100-watt wired charging. Does not have that silicon carbon new battery. Now, in the US, it was 80 watts. I would be curious, and if I'd care more, I would take a look to see exactly why the US got the 80 watt instead of the 100 watt. But this year, it looks like the phone everywhere is hitting 100 watt. Even going back to the OnePlus 11, 100-watt wired charging. And then, of course, 80 here in the United States. Let's go back just a little further. Let's go back to the 10, 10 Pro, and the 9. 80-watt wired, 65 here in the States. 80-watt wired, 65 here in the States. And then 65 wired. And I guess that's 65 everywhere. So going back several years, it's clear that, things were a little slower by OnePlus standards, because all of these numbers are still significantly faster than anything that the iPhone is offering. I mean, somebody do the math. I don't know what the math is to determine how the wattage for the wired connection yet. I'm not going to do it. But I'm telling you, 65 watts is... it might be approaching that with the iPhone. I don't know. I feel like it's at like 30 or something right now, So, again, covering up for the iPhone's deficiencies. He's not saying it out loud. But it's really, this new technology exists, and that's why these phones can do this. And it's like, no, these phones have been able to do this for years. It's just the phone that you use and the phone that many people in this country use doesn't offer it, yet Apple still charges a premium for their products and gives you significantly less. So he goes on and says a bunch of other good things about the phone, and he says he's been using it for 3 weeks, so cool. That's longer than I've used it because I don't have it. I did have a OnePlus 12R briefly, and I ended up returning it, mainly because these phones are just too big. But yeah, it baffles me that anybody, and this isn't just talking about him, because as I said before, plenty of the other reviewers will talk about all these good things for Android products, but then they'll go back to their iPhone, and it's like, you're admitting that this thing is better, but you're going to go back and continue using this inferior product? Hey, do what you got to do. But I think I'm done. I am happy that he and a bunch of other people, because if you look over here on the side, there are a bunch of people who've done OnePlus reviews. But I'm probably not going to buy it. It's a $900 phone. In a couple of weeks, it'll be available. Third-party people selling their used ones. Right now, heck, the 13R, I think is available for $600, and then you can trade any phone in any condition, get $100 off. I just got an email saying that I got a $50 credit towards my OnePlus account from OnePlus. So now we're down to $450. I'd be eligible for whether it's like a student discount or something. So that's maybe 10% more off. So, and I don't know if that's 10% off that 60, like what that is, $60. I don't know. So we might be down to like 3 something before tax, or close to let's say an even 400 for the 13R if I decided to go that route. But this phone is just too big. So I think I've said enough. If I had to summarize this video, and I wish I were better at summarizing things, it would simply just be, he's a good reviewer. Has 20 million subscribers. Obviously, he's been doing this for well over a decade and is good at it and has amassed and maintained an audience. But I feel like when it comes to the tech community, yes, it's nice to be entertained, and his videos are entertaining. Mine aren't. But it's also important, equally, if not more important, to make sure you're giving full factual information. So everything that he just said is technically true, but I feel like it's incomplete information and therefore slightly misleading.